Neetu Wadhwani, your host for the evening. I am part of Chinmaya Mission Yuva Kendra, and reminiscing our beloved Dada Vaswani ji, Minjo Pyare Bhauda e Benaru, ta sabni ke Cheti Chand je lakh lakh vadayu, ayo lal sabicho jhule lal. For those that aren't aware, Cheti Chand is a Sindhi New Year, also Jhule Lal Jayanti, the patron god of the Sindhis. On this occasion, we want to share with you glories of Sindh, some popular folk songs, and talk about a few saints from Sindh. We also have a few surprises for you along the way, so we hope you enjoy. First off, I would like to introduce Lakshmi Kapadia. Lakshmi ji is a retired Sindhi doctor, has done a 2-year Vedanta course in Trinidad, and is a sevak for Chinmaya Mission New York Bal Vihar. She will be leading us with our opening prayer, as well as giving us an introduction to the glory of Sindh.
Hari Om. On behalf of the Chinmaya Mission New York, we welcome you to our celebration of Cheti Chand. Please join me in the opening prayers. We start with 3 Oms and the prayers together. Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Musibat में मालिक मददगार थींदे, मददगार थींदे दाता सदा साथ दींदे. तुझे दर तां सवाली न खाली वञे थो, अचे जेको तो वटि सो झूलण झोलियूं भरे थो. असांजी बि दाता झोल भरींदे, मददगार थींदे दाता सदा साथ दींदे. It means in times of difficulty and trouble, O Lord, please help us. No one leaves empty-handed from your door. You fill our baskets with your grace. Please shower your blessings on us always and forever. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om. So, glory of Sindh. The glory of Sindh are the Sindhi people. These are the words that affect the Sindhi people and describe them is the word resilience. This capacity in our forefathers, in our ancestors, help them assimilate in the society wherever the circumstances took them in life. The area of Sindh, as you know, was repeatedly looted and conquered by the Arabs, by the Persian invaders who ruled over Sindh for a long time. They settled there and they converted many Sindhis to Islam. But the Sindhis had their own language And they also had the original script called Khudabadi. This was changed to the Arabic script, 52 alphabets. And then after partition, we got the Devanagari script in Sindhi. The Sindhis were very progressively minded people. They believed in education. They sent their daughters and women to schools and colleges. And the women were very skilled in the homework, home economics rather. They knew how to cook all these great Sindhi dishes. But many of the Sindhi women were very skilled in sewing, knitting, crocheting. And those skills helped them after partition to stitch their own clothes, to stitch clothes for others, and to maintain their household chores. They made their papads, they made kachriung, khicha, variung, etc. And they tried to be as much self-sufficient as possible. The Sindhis and the Muslims, the Islamic people, they lived amicably in Pakistan, relatively amicably. And but everything changed when the partition came. I remember my grandmother telling me that they were living in Karachi during those days of partition. And she was cooking lunch. There was curfew outside, and the military trucks came to evacuate them. She stopped cooking. They closed their house, locked it, gave the keys to the neighbors, saying, "We will be back in a few days." And they left Pakistan in the same clothes that they were wearing, with no possessions. And the Sindhi people had to leave Pakistan in a hurry. Some went by boat to Mumbai and Gujarat, some by train to Ajmer, some by road to Rajasthan, and some by plane to Mumbai also. People of the Sindhi origin from Pakistan, when they landed in the refugee camps in India, they were like in a foreign countries. The people were different, the language was different, the customs were different, the attire was different, the food was different, and people were in shock. The rich people became poor, and families were torn apart. In such situations, the resilience in our forefathers, in our grandparents and great-grandparents, was the capacity in them that they lifted themselves up, made some businesses by themselves or in groups, and started developing and living their lives in society. They educated their children, and look where we are today, the result of their sacrifices. When we came to India, when the Sindhis came to India, we did not get a city or a province or a state for ourselves. But we did not find a place where we could all say, this is Sindhi place. But now we have a spot in Kutch, near Narayan Sarovar, where the government has given us the land to build Jhulelal Dham. Share my screen if I can. And this Jhulelal Dham, they say, is going to be big. They're going to make a temple there, a museum, and they will also have artifacts from Sindh. And hopefully we will be able to have it as a pilgrimage center, where we can go and say that, okay, this is our center, and this is where we are going to have a place for Sindhis. I hope you can see this site. This is the Jhulelal Tirath Dham Trust that is making this Jhulelal Dham, and we look forward to that. At the same time, I want to bring your attention to the current refugee problem that is still going on. People from Pakistan, the Hindu Sindhis, are still coming into refugee camps in near Jodhpur. And these are families who are have minimal skills. They are women and they are daughters are being harassed and the Sindhis are being discriminated. And they come to India in dire straits. And hopefully we will be able to help them. There are organizations like Children's Hope and other NGOs who are trying their best to educate their children. And we also have to try our best to lift up our community because they are our brethren. As we say in the Chinmaya Mission pledge, that we pray to Bhagwan to keep us on the path of virtue, courage, and wisdom. And we ask for his blessings. May thy blessings flow through us to the world around us. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Lakshmi ji. Next, we have Aarti Chander. Aarti ji comes from a family of legendary Sindhi singers and is continuing the Chander family legacy along with her brothers. She has performed with the likes of Anup Jalota ji, Kavita Krishnamurti ji, and has released several videos on YouTube. She will be singing us Damadam Mast Kalandar and many more famous Sindhi songs. So if you know them, feel free to join in.
Jai Jhulelal. So there are, Panjaras. I'm going to sing 2 Panjaras, which is called devotional Jhulelal song, especially made, and then the Madam Mast. Since it's a virtual program, but I would definitely like to, each and every of you, whoever is watching with us, please clap your hands or you can dance in your own house. And let's do Mauj and Masti for Cheti Chand Mela. So here it is. Munji bedi athai vich sirate pallo paya ki maa zinda pirate basu basya ki maa zinda pirate jo tinwara lal dera jo tinwara lal dera yei kan tha to dar bhera तुझी मेहरा अमीर फकीर ते तुझी मेहरा अमीर फकीर ते पलो पाया थी मां जिंदा पीर ते बासु बास्या थी मां जिंदा पीर ते आ तुझी बानी तू मुझे साई आ तुझी बानी तू मुझे साई विवाहन जो वसीलो तू आई मत जिया थी तुझे कीरते मत जिया थी तुझे कीरते पलो पाया थी मां जिंदा पीरते बासु बास्या थी मां जिंदा पीरते रांझन चवे ही आशा मुझे रांझन चवे ही आशा मुझे हिम्मत दे तकया सेवा तुझी छोत नाहे भरोसो शरीर ते ओ छोत नाहे भरोसो शरीर ते पलो पाया थी मां जिंदा पीरते बासु बास्या थी मां जिंदा पीरते ओ गुल चाड़िया थी मां जिंदा पीरते ओ अखो पाया थी मां जिंदा पीरते ओ जंहिंखे झूलण जो मिलियो प्यार आ खुशहाल उहो हथ मथे करे ओ हथ मथे करे जंहिंखे झूलण जो मिलियो प्यार आ खुशहाल उहो हथ मथे करे हाँ वो हथ मथे करे जंहिंखे लालण कयो मालामाल जंहिंखे झूलण कयो मालामाल उहो हथ मथे करे हाँ वो हथ मथे करे ओ हथ मथे करे ओ हथ मथे करे बहिराणो लालण जो जहिया सजायो बहिराणो लाल जो जहिया सजायो तंहिंखे लालण पार पुॼायो तंहिंखे लालण पार पुॼायो जंहिंजो बेड़ो कयाई पार, जंहिंजो बेड़ो कयाई पार, उहो हथ मथे करे, हाँ उहो हथ मथे करे, उहो हथ मथे करे, उहो हथ मथे करे। ज्योति जगाई जह जगमगा, ज्योति जगाई जह जगमगा, तैते लालण जी रहमत आ, तैते लालण जी रहमत आ। जंहिंजी लधी साईं आसार, जंहिंजी लधी साईं आसार, उहो हथ मथे करे, हाँ उहो हथ मथे करे, उहो हथ मथे करे, हाँ उहो हथ मथे करे। प्रेमिन जी भी लाज रखियाई, प्रेमिन जी भी लाज रखियाई, गीत ॻाइण जी शक्ति ॾिनाई, गीत ॻाइण जी शक्ति ॾिनाई। जंहिंजो साईं आ दिलदार, जंहिंजो साईं आ दिलदार, उहो हथ मथे करे, हाँ उहो हथ मथे करे, ओ हथ मथे करे, ओ हथ मथे करे। जंहिंखे लालण जो मिलियो प्यार आ खुशहाल, उहो हथ मथे करे, हाँ उहो हथ मथे करे, उहो हथ मथे करे, ओ हथ मथे करे। Now this is a famous song, Lal Meri Pat, and I would like everyone to join me in their own homes. Let's pray to Lord.
Arti ji, you're muted.
Arti ji, you're muted.
देवण जा सखी शहबाज कलंदर, दमादम मस्त कलंदर, सखी शहबाज कलंदर, दमादम मस्त कलंदर, झूले झूले लाल कलंदर, ओ लाल मेरी, ओ लाल मेरी। चार चराग तेरे बरन हमेशा, चार चराग तेरे बरन हमेशा, पंजवा बारण आया भला झूल लालण, पंजवा में बारण, पंजवा में बारण आया भला झूल लालण, सेवण जा सिंदड़ीअ जा सखी शहबाज कलंदर, दमादम मस्त कलंदर, कलंदर लाल कलंदर, झूले झूले लाल कलंदर, ओ लाल मेरी, ओ लाल मेरी। माता उंजू झूलण झोलियूं भरींदे, माता उंजू झूलण झोलियूं भरींदे, न्याणियुनि जा कंदे भाग भला झूल लालण, सेवण जा सिंदड़ीअ जा सखी शहबाज कलंदर, दमादम मस्त कलंदर, कलंदर लाल कलंदर, झूले झूले लाल कलंदर, सेवण लाल कलंदर, ओ लाल मेरी, ओ हो लाल मेरी। आयो लाल कयो झूले लाल बेड़ाई पार।
That was beautiful, Arti ji. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Brahmacharini of Chinmaya Mission, New York, Shubhani ji, who will be showing us a very, very special message from the head of Chinmaya Mission Global, Swami Sarupananda ji. Shubhani ji.
Namaste, Cheti Chanju Lak Lak Vadayu. According to our Indian Hindu calendar, this is the new year for many of our states in India. It's a very special occasion, especially for the Sindhis, because it is on this day that the great saint whom we worship as Julelal, believed to be the avatar of none other than the Varun Devata, the Lord of Waters, who took avatar as Julelal and not only blessed the dry, arid land with rains, but also protected from the tyranny and conversions that were taking place at that time by educating people about how God is one, not my God, your God. Sindh has been the land of, or the cradle of our Indian culture. It is from Sindhu came the word Hindu and the word India, and it is from Sindhu came the word Hindu. That entire culture that was there in our banks of our river, whether it was the Sindhu River, the Saraswati River, and the Ganga River. But the Sindhu River, even now, is said to be the source of the most ancient civilization of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. There's a rich heritage that we have lost and we are losing. My request to all the young Sindhi brothers and sisters, get to know a little bit more about your history, your culture. That will give you that special identity which pervaded round the world in spite of being exiled or sent off during the partition, in whatever condition, but made a success of their life. It is that culture, that heritage, that history, that greatness of that land of Sindh that we must recognize. Make your own study, make your own research, spread it, and come to claim a new life, a new era for the Sindhis. Happy Cheti Chand.
I'm sure everybody thought that that was a beautiful message from Swami Swarupananda ji. So thank you to him and thank you to Shabhani ji for putting this together so beautifully. Next, we have Gina Singh. Gina ji was born in Ghana, just like I was. And fun fact, we actually share the same birthday. She serves Chinmaya Mission in Toronto after completing the Vedanta course in Trinidad with Swami Prakashananda ji, and she will be sharing a bit about the patron saint Julelal with us.
Thank you, Neetu. Hari Om, everybody. Before this morning, I was in a bit of a dilemma, to focus on the story of Julelalji or to focus on his teaching. And Swamiji just solved the dilemma by giving a quick synopsis of the circumstances of his avatar. So thank you, Swamiji. I will take a few minutes to just add on really briefly about the circumstances of his avatar. Of all the tyrants, the worst of the worst was one called Mirksha. And his message to the Hindus was simple: convert to Islam or die. Why? Because he was convinced that his door to heaven was guaranteed if he force converted Hindus to Islam. 100% selfish motive. Now, at this time, it wasn't just regular people, but Hindu leaders that were given ultimatums to convert. And once the leaders are gone, it's over. So what could they do? And usually it is only when no one is left to help, that we finally remember our real refuge. So they went to invoke Bhagavan at the Sindhu River. And they did tapas for 40 days and 40 nights. And on the 40th night, they heard a divine voice promising them that Varuna Devata himself would take avatar as Udero Lal to help them. Udero is one who has sprung from water. He got the name Jhule Lal because the jhula, the swing that he used to sleep in, would rock itself to put him to sleep. So he was called the Lord of the Swing like that. Now the Hindu leaders had some time, but how long? How is a newborn baby going to help them to get out of this problem with a tyrant ruler? That's a very simple thing. You know, we are bound by the laws of time and space, but the Lord isn't. And one day, in front of one minister's eyes, he turned from a baby to a young man, to an old man with a beard, back to a young man, got on a horse and left. And this minister was mind blown. And word got back to this tyrant leader that this mysterious child was supposedly the savior of the Hindus. And fear is not something that goes away with more power. So he got more scared. And he wanted to see for himself. And in a miraculous display involving the elements, and Jhulelalji convinced him that he is no ordinary being. And he had a very simple message for him. He said, all of humanity is one creation, his divine family. It was his desire that he made some of them Muslims and some of them Hindus. Unity in diversity is what the Lord has ordained, so let it prevail. Who you call Allah, the Hindus call Ishvara, and your God and my God are the same. So don't persecute your Hindu brothers. Let unity prevail among the Sindhis so that Hindus and Muslims can exist in peace and harmony. Simple message, but see the power of divine words. This ruler had a change of heart, and he surrendered to the message of Jhulelalji. He allowed the Hindus to coexist with the Muslims happily. And it was actually very unbelievable because what was at stake was his spot in heaven. Now, I have shared this story in brief only, so with the remaining time, we can reflect on the teaching. Okay? When we hear this phrase, unity in diversity, we think about how we should see the Lord in everything, in all people, in animals, in things, because everything is a manifestation of the divine, right? And beneath the 2 millimeters of skin, it's the same blood and same bones, and we hear those kinds of examples, right? But today, let us think from a slightly different point of view. Jhulelalji specifically came to inspire 2 religions to coexist, i.e., don't expect other people to give up their beliefs, and don't give up your beliefs. Find a way to navigate such that the diversity is treasured. We are born Sindhi Hindus for a reason, so we should not need to convert for anybody or anything. Now, some people say, yeah, we know. Why are you telling us this? No one is converting us. It's not relevant. You know, that is from one perspective. We don't have external enemies like that. But as Kali Yuga progresses, it becomes more and more apparent that our greatest enemies may be the ones within our own heart. Okay? There may not be someone externally making us change, but there's a part of our personality that helplessly, willingly makes us give up our religion, our culture for others' religion and others' cultural beliefs. Now, first we might say, no, that's not true. What are you saying? Right? But you just think, when you hear the word New Year, what date comes to mind? Almost 100% of people will say 1st of January. But Sindhi New Year is Cheti Chand. Right? Now at home, what is celebrated with more excitement, more gifts, more decorations? Christmas or Diwali? When somebody dies, do we say, may they attain Sadgati, or do we say, may they rest in peace? Right? Or when people get married, we say, may they live happily ever after. But in our tradition, we're supposed to move from vanaprastha to sannyasa, not stay in grihastha forever. Right? Right now, what language are we speaking? It is very sad. You know, even if everybody here could understand Sindhi, not all of us can speak it. Right? And that Sindhi language is that which allows us the opportunity to stay united in spite of not having had a geographical location for so long. Right? Even on special occasions, you know, on Eid, we wish our friends Eid Mubarak. They also wish us Eid Mubarak. But on Cheti Chand, we say Happy Cheti Chand. Who says Cheti Chand jo lak lak vadayu? We gravitate to the English phrases more often than not. There are countless examples, right? But I'm sharing this point because I was made aware of how much of our tradition we are giving up without realizing. And I saw a beautiful quote from Gurudev today that our Bharatiya culture's great contribution to the world is a system of giving rather than taking. It is a life that is based on fulfillment of duties and not a life of striving for gaining rights. That is the culture we belong to. Now, did you know that Sindhu Desh, our land of Sindh, was part of Bhagavan Rama's own kingdom? He sent our dear Bharatji to look after the land. And then Bharatji later on handed it over to Lava and Kush. This is our privileged heritage. We are direct descendants of Rama Rajya, where Bhagavan Rama and his Parivar, by example, established dharma as the highest value to be revered and cherished by everybody. And you all know when a land is governed by dharma, real prosperity is the natural byproduct, as it was in Sindh. Okay? This is Rama Rajya, and this is our heritage that Jhulelaji is inspiring us to live up to. We live right now in a society where Christian faith is of the majority. So it's very easy for their beliefs to seep into ours. But it is in our own hands to inspire the reverence and glory of our tradition in such a way that we don't lose ours while respecting theirs for them. We have found ourselves in this tradition because this is the best way for us to personally move closer to our destination of moksha, permanent happiness, whatever you want to call it, right? That is best for them, and ours is best for us. And if we think like this, we realize that this message of Jhulelalji of unity in diversity, I value and revere mine, but I don't think that someone else's is better. Neither do I think that mine is better. Everyone's is best for them because diversity is the insignia of Bhagavan's manifestation, not just in nature, but in people, in cultures, in religions. So as we reflect on the teachings of Jhulelal Bhagavan on his Jayanti today, may he inspire us to always believe in unity and diversity. Not just say, but really believe. And may he raise us above the differences and distinctions, not just of caste and creed and color, but may he give us the courage to stand up for our tradition, our values, against the tyranny of our mind and the biases of our environment and the decadence of time. And may we be reinvigorated to discover what it means to be a Sindhi Hindu and find the capacity to live up to that. And by that, discover that oneness, which is our own nature. Thank you to Chinmay Mission New York and Shubhani Ji for putting together this opportunity for us to reflect on our Sindhi heritage. Okay, Hari Om, I will pass it over back to you.
How insightful, and what a beautiful speaker you are, Gina Ji. That was wonderful. Thank you. And may we all really believe in unity and diversity every day from today. Next, we have a special song, Bhajan, by Manisha Bharani Ji. Manisha Ji resides in St. Martin. She graduated from the New York Stern School of Business, conducted conducts music workshops, works in the real estate industry, as well as volunteers at Children's Hope India, a wonderful NGO based out of New York City. And she also owns her own resort wear company, which she calls Army Resort, which was inspired by her two beautiful sons, who you can also see in the screen. And she will be singing us a wonderful Sindhi bhajan, Alaije Chame Razia.
Namaste. Where's the sound?
No.
1 second, please.
Say you're right.
Technical difficulties. Alaije ke sarazia, alaije ke sarazia. Alaije chame razia, alaije ke sarazia, alaije chame razia, alaije ke sarazia. कोई राजा को फकीर बाजीगर जी बाजिया, कोई राजा को फकीर बाजीगर जी बाजिया, अलाइजे चामे राजिया, अलाइजे कैसा रजिया, अलाइजे चामे राजिया, अलाइजे कैसा रजिया. के लक दई तो लाल करे, कि ठक दई कंगाल करे, लक दई तो लाल करे, कि ठक दई कंगाल करे. दोहा असांजा कीन जिसे शल पंहिंजी मेहर करे, दोहा असांजा कीन जिसे शल पंहिंजी मेहर करे. अलाइजे चामे रजिया, अलाइजे कैसा रजिया, अलाइजे चामे रजिया, अलाइजे कैसा रजिया. तौबा करे तकबर छड़ कर निवरत जरे जरे, तौबा करे तकबर छड़ कर निवरत जरे जरे. कहलाए जो कूर करे बिन खाली हथ ड करे, अलाइजे छामे रजिया, अलाइजे कैसा रजिया, अलाइजे छामे रजिया, अलाइजे कैसा रजिया. पीर पैगंबर के ही व्यावे तो हर को सफर करे, पीर पैगंबर के ही व्यावे तो हर को सफर करे. हाकिम हुक्म हलाए व्या जालिम जुल्म करे, अलाइजे चामे रजिया, अलाइजे कैसा रजिया. डखनो रहो हर दम खा जो कह काठी न डरे, डखनो रहो हर दम खा जो कह काठी न डरे. यारी रुख रंजन साजो दम दम कदूर करे, अलाइजे चामे रजिया, अलाइजे कैसा रजिया, अलाइजे चामे रजिया, अलाइजे कैसा रजिया. कोई राजा को फकीर बाजीगर जी बाजिया, कोई राजा को फकीर बाजीगर जी बाजिया अलाई जे चामे रजिया अलाई जे कैसा रजिया अलाई जे कैसा रजिया अलाई जे कैसा रजिया
Beautifully sung in one of my personal favorite Sindhi bhajans. Thank you for that, Manisha ji. Now we will be moving on to our Sindhi Saints segment, spotlighting 3 of the greatest Sindhi minds. First up, we have Kishan Bharwani. Kishan ji is currently retired, but has been a consultant at some of Wall Street's largest companies. He is the founder and CEO of multiple technology companies and a full-time seeker. He will be telling us about the Sindhi saint Baba Hari Ram.
हरि ओम भावर ऐं भेनरूं तव्हांखे सभिनी खे चेटी चंड जी लख लख वाधायूं. It is truly my good fortune to be given this opportunity to talk on Baba Hari Ram, a realized soul and a saint of Sindh. It is said saints act out of intuition, seekers out of inspiration, and samsaris out of instincts. What is a saint? Kabir Das ji said, प्रेम गली बड़ी साखरी जैमें दो न समाए जहां मैं हूं वहां हरि नहीं जहां हरि है वहां मैं नहीं. When a jeev has merged and melted into the Lord, he is one with the Lord, where Ishwar speaks through him and his words are words of the Lord. Additionally, the saintliness of a person is directly proportional to the selfless love and compassion in the person. Baba Hari Ram fits the definition to the T. Jivat, as he was called at birth, was born in 1870 to Bhai Tanu Ram, a spiritual and pious man in the village of Bhangau Bahan in Khairpur district of present-day Pakistan. Jivat was a year old when his spiritual father-to-be, Baba Kirpa Ram, visited Tanu Ram's house. In a short discourse, adopted Jivat. Jivat joined Baba Kirpa Ram's darbar as his disciple at the age of 9. The lineage, Guru Nanak Dev's son, Baba Sri Chand, continued the light of Baba Nanak and formed the Udasi sect. Baba Hari Ram was the 14th Guru of this line. Guru Gobind Singh declared that Guru Granth Sahib would be the only Guru. The difference, and after that, the differences between the traditional Sikhs and the Udasis all but ended. From the very early days in his life, Baba Hari Ram had an aptitude to memorize verses of the Bani. At the very young age, he had memorized complete Bani and would chant it mentally during his long days working at the Darbar. The Darbar was a small piece of land, small improvements to allow it basic sustenance for langar. Previous gurus had studied Bhagavatam and learned to recite it accurately and brought a copy to the Darbar. A handwritten copy of Guru Granth Sahib was also present, and precise pronunciation was required of Panthis performing daily evening satsang. Baba Hari Ram arrived at the age of 9, served Baba Kirpa Ram and other gurus for 26 years, toiling day and night in complete and selfless devotion. He ascended the Gaddi in 1904. Although he had spiritual powers, he was terribly human. Just instinctive reaction to human suffering would cause him to wave his stick or make gesture to cure or remedy the situation. His fame grew. There are numerous accounts documented with names and places of devotees seeking his grace in wanting children, curing diseases, seeking jobs, marriage issues that Baba would bestow on them simply out of his compassion. Baba Hari Ram believed in consuming less and giving generously, but realized that giving was limited by the offerings at the Darbar. So the Sindhi DNA kicked in. Over the time, he acquired multiple small pieces of land and toiled personally with other sevaks to grow crops and a gaushala for the Darbar. His typical day would start at 3:30 a.m. and end late at night with Bani continuously recited on his lips. As a result, when he attained Samadhi in 1947, think of those days, guys, The Darbar had cash and assets equal to 600,000 rupees. That's when the rupee was a silver coin, an astronomical sum at the time. Once Teka Rai Bhatt, since migrated to Indore, approached Baba and gave to understand that he was so poor he could not afford even milk for his children. Baba, without hesitation, gave him a cow to take back and never looked back at his gift. This was the generosity of the Baba. Totally detached, totally a Vairagi. Baba's devotion for Gurbani was unique in all respect. He not only loved it, he lived it. To him, the teachings of the Bani had a prime place. How it was recited, with what bhavna and feeling, and how it got to the heart of his disciples. The personal teaching of Bani was Baba's philosopher's stone that transformed the lives of many who came in contact with him. Bani was the universal remedy of all ailments, mental and physical. When recited with all his soul and heart, the powers of the universe would come and assist him in the path of life. Being a Vedic scholar, he would say, your welfare is in proportion to the love for Bani. In this short life, where is the time to read all the Vedas? All the principles of the Vedas are embodied in the Gurbani. He considered the recitation of the Gurbani as a Mahayagna. Baba left his body in June 1947. There are many documented incidents from devotees who claim that Baba came, talked to them, and helped them in their time of need, even after leaving his body. Swami Tejavananji says, if you want to alter your life, have an altar in your life. I'll relate two incidents where devotees had Baba as their altar and their experiences after Baba's passing away. Jaykishan Gursahani of Bombay recalls, on January 6, 1948, there was general looting of Hindu household in Karachi. He was living in Artillery Maidan. Baba came to him that night and assured him that nothing would happen to him. Every Hindu house in the neighborhood was looted or burnt, but his house was not touched. A few days later, a theft took place in Jaykishan's Muslim neighbor's house, who blamed Jaykishan. Police came, searched his house. At that difficult time, Baba appeared before him and told him to sit as though nothing has happened. The next day, the thief was caught and Jaykishan was undisturbed. The second incident was Charandas Gursahani, relates to the account. You've heard about people going from riches to rags, where everything was lost and confiscated while migrating to India. This is the account. In December 1947, I came from Shukur to Karachi en route to India. In Karachi port, each and every baggage was opened mercilessly with the stern officers. In one bag was a sealed box with all the jewelry and important documents. I was informed that the seal would be broken and all items confiscated and a receipt given. Task was assigned to one officer and other officers walked away from the inspection. When the box was opened, on top with the documents was a photo of Baba Hari Ram. There was a complete change in attitude. The officer bowed his head and asked the junior to close the box and all the belongings. He initialed the box and said, please take your baggage without any botheration. We did not know you were in the protection of such a great saint. If we had known, we would not have searched your baggage. This was the experiences. There are many documented experiences, one after another. I would strongly recommend reading this small book. It connected me with the saints of Sindh. Loves and blessings and Jai Jhulelal to all the friends here today. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Kishanji. Next, we have Deena Pallajani. Deena Ji is a pediatrician in Long Island and a spiritual seeker. She will be telling us about our beloved Sindhi saint, Dada J.P. Vaswani.
Hari Om, Dada Sham, Sabni ke Cheti Chand, aun Jhulelal Jayantiyon ji lakh lakh vadayun. I'm immensely grateful to have this opportunity to speak about one of the greatest saints of India in recent times, Dada J.P. Vaswani. To speak about a saint is actually a huge responsibility, and I would like to ask for forgiveness should I misstate anything and say something that is not accurate. Dada, as he was affectionately known by his devotees, left his physical body just a few days short of his centennial birthday. And coincidentally, just a few hours ago, Bhumi Puja was done in Pune at the site where Dada's Samadhi will be built near his master. For Sindhis, Dada is a treasure, but his message of universal love and message of oneness earned him respect with leaders of all religions. Love, devotion, and service were his key message. Dada says religion exists only in our hearts, and Christ, Allah, and Buddha are in all of us. On the screen, you can see the reverends, leaders, and different leaders of different faiths had for Dada. Here, Swami Tejomayananda ji bowing down to Dada to blessings. Can we just go back to Dalai Lama's picture, please? I want to share a quote that His Holiness Dalai Lama said of Dada. He said, he epitomizes the life of Dharma. He is a living example of how spirit and practice of ancient traditions can be purely maintained even amongst the change and challenges of this modern age. Apparent in his pictures is Dada's radiant smile. He was called a smile millionaire. And those who have heard Dada speak know his sense of humor. Every lecture of Dada that I attended was sprinkled with his sharp wit. You can move on to the next slide. These are just a few of the pictures of Dada as he traveled around the globe. And these pictures shows one of Dada's most powerful message, which was service. Dada was very fond of children, and he took every opportunity to connect with them in a very childlike manner. Dada was born in Hyderabad, Sindh. He was a brilliant student and a voracious reader. He was raised in a modest household. I think that's the end of the slides. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I want to actually thank the Sadhu Vaswani Center and Closter for sharing these beautiful pictures that I can share with you. Dada was raised in a very modest household, but he was a voracious reader, and every book that he could lay his hands on, he would read. He would buy stacks of old newspapers and spend hours reading. Such was his thirst for knowledge. Later on, he worked in a library, so he could have access to books of all kinds. He entered college at a young age of 13 and received a master's in physics. His thesis for his degree was read by the Nobel laureate C.V. Raman. But even though Dada had a brilliant academic career ahead of him, what attracted him from a very early age was his uncle Sadhu T.L. Vaswani. Sadhu Vaswani was a professor of philosophy at DJ College in Sindh, but became a renunciate and chose to live like a fakir. He traveled across India, serving the poor and needy wherever he went. And it was just a matter of time before Dada joined his uncle and chose to serve him as a faithful disciple. He moved with him to India after partition, and in 1949, the Sadhu Vaswani mission was established in Pune. Key values of satsang, bhajan singing, prayer, meditation, and above all service are propagated here at the mission. In 1966, Sadhu Vaswani left his body and the baton was passed to Dada, who became the spiritual head of the Sadhu Vaswani mission. Dada went around India spreading his master's message of love and devotion. Turn back to God. That was the crux of Dada's teaching. Have utter and complete devotion and faith in God was what he talked about. He was a scientist, and in his scientific mind, this was the conclusion, that it is God alone whom we can turn to and who can solve all the mysteries of existence. In 1982, Dada began his journey overseas. And in the decades that follow, he went everywhere, wherever his devotees invited him. He established 70 centers across the globe where values of the mission are practiced. Love and service were Dada's religion, and his compassion was apparent even when he was a child. I came across a story that when he was a child, on his birthday, his mother gave him 1 rupee kharchi, and he immediately ran to the store that he walked by every day, and he would look at this toy train in the window. He ran to the store, but on the way, he met this old lady who was begging. She had a sick child in her arms, and she was begging for money for medicine for this child. And Dada, just without thinking, just gave her the money and came home empty-handed. There were many such instances that I read about Dada, where his mother would send him shopping to bring back groceries, and he would give it to whoever he met on the way, who he felt needed it more than him. But his love and compassion was not just limited to human beings. It extended to animals as well. He said, they are our brothers and sisters. They have a right to live just as we do. And it was painful for him to see millions of animals that were being slaughtered every day. November 25th was thus established as a meatless day. And Dada firmly believed that there would be no peace on earth unless all forms of killing were stopped. Dada's emphasis on education led him to open 18 educational institutes across India, where 20,000 students are enrolled. The mission also runs 7 hospitals that offer free medical service and complex surgeries such as transplants here. They also have a state-of-the-art eye hospital in Pune, where hundreds of people, including children, get their vision restored. The work that Sadhu Vaswani started in 1949 was then carried on by our dear Dada, J.P. Vaswani, and now we look upon to Didi Krishna to guide us, and also the youth of today on this path. Even though Dada is not with us in physical form today, the Sadhu Vaswani centers are alive with Dada's spirit. And it is said that saints never die. They live in the heart of the devotees. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you so much, Dina ji. Next, we have Brahmacharini of New York and conductor of some of the most beautiful Vedanta classes, Shubhani ji. Shubhani ji will be telling us about another wondrous Sindhi saint, Shah Abdul Latif.
Hari Om. It's very nice to be here and to listen to all the stories of saints. That's my hobby. So thank you for speaking about them, because it makes me yearn for God even more. I was reading Sadhu Vaswani's book, actually Dada Vaswani's book, I Am a Sindhi. And because I was trying to figure out what does that really mean. And in Dada Vaswani ji's book, he talks about these poets of Sindh, the Sufis of Sindh. And so that's why I thought of taking that up today. Sadhu Vaswani, Dada Vaswani ji are both very dear to Chinmaya Mission and to Puja Guruji Swami Tejomayananda and Puja Swami Swarupananda ji was also in the picture. So it's very inspiring to see how those who are saints, they love each other, respect each other, and they inspire each other also. So today I'm going to talk about the Sufi poet, mystic, saint that Dada has told us to read about. And his name is Shah Abdul Latif. And first we'll look at the word Sufi. I learned the word Sufi from my mother when she had let me listen to Sufi music. And that's the first time I fell in love with it. And now as I read, I understand that the word Sufi means pure from Safa, or it's also out of, they were called Sufis because they wore wool and they renounced everything. They had poverty, so they were called Sufis because they just wore wool. Or Sufis also from that name Sophia, which means wisdom. And so there were these Sufis and they were these mystics and they saw themselves really one with everybody. So their message was going beyond any kind of division that anybody had. And their message was just union with God. In fact, to be a Sufi, as I was reading, there's several paths that one has to do. One is to repent, to awaken, to seek God. The second is to surrender everything to God. And to renounce all of their riches. And the riches include the ownership of I, the ego. So it's inner poverty. And it's just about being grateful for every single thing that they receive and seeing suffering also as something very inviting, something that can help change their lives. So Shah Abdul Latif was a Sufi mystic. And he grew up around these teachings. And it is said that, he would go around and these teachings, he would orate them in the Sindhi language. And so many Sindhis today still hear his messages. So he would orate these in the Sindhi language. And people would love to listen to them because they were really, really deep messages. He would spend hours in contemplation and meditation, and he loved being in nature. He loved the deserts. He loved roaming about. He loved spending time with the yogis and sannyasis, and he even writes about them. And his disciples fell in love with his messages, but it is said at one point in time, he took his messages and he threw them in the river. And so his disciples were just so bummed out, but they managed to compile some of them. And his messages are compiled today in something called Shah Jo Rasalo. Rasalo means messages, and these are messages of Shah. So I thought the best way to bring out his life is really through his teachings. And so today I'm going to share with you some of the poetry of Shah, and we can just reflect on it and how beautiful it actually is. So here you go. So Shah Jo Rasalo, it's in Sindhi, but it was translated into very, very many languages after they have seen the richness of it. So we'll see the first poem. And each of these poems are really sung in different surs. So they're sung in different rhythms. And this one is called Kalyan. And this one is of awakening. He says, there is a call to gallows, friends. Will any of you go? Those who do talk of love may know, to gallows they must speed. And I'm sure in Sindhi it would sound much more beautiful. Unfortunately, this is what I can access. So this is what I have read. And this is very deep because the gallows is a place where heads are chopped off. Well, people's heads are chopped off. right? And there's a call to the gallows. Will any of you go? So what this is there's a call for our egos to be surrendered. There's a call for our egos to be removed. And so he says, will any of you go to remove our individuality, our notion of being this limited person? Will any of us go to remove that? And he says, those who do talk of love may know, to the gallows they must speed. So those who actually talk of love, love for God, love for the Creator, they know that they must go to the gallows, not just go, but speed. That this surrendering the ego, giving up the ego, that's the purpose of life. And that's called moksha. And that's the only thing. There's nothing else to do in life. And so he says, to these gallows, they must speed. Not go, but speed. So those who do talk of love may know, to the gallows they must speed. Share with you another one. This is now in Kalyan, Yemen. And he says, oh friend, why are you still inclined to waste paper and ink? Go rather forth and try to find the source where words are formed. And when I read this, I immediately thought of Kenopanishad. Sometimes we get so bogged down with words, trying to describe God, trying to define God and label God. God is unlimited. Why do we have to limit God to one religion, to one language, to one path? That unlimited God cannot be limited. And oftentimes we waste our time trying to define God. And Swami Chinmayanandaji says, to define God is to defile God. And so here, instead of us trying to limit ourselves and write all these words about God, limiting God, why not find where words come from? Where words come from is the mind, and where the mind comes from is that pure consciousness or awareness. Trace it to that silence. That's really God. That pure awareness, that's really God. So he says, stop wasting time in paper and ink. And I'll read this one. This one is about patience. This, I think, is a value that all of us lack. All of us lack because we want everything so quickly. We want everything done in 2 minutes, everything delivered to us today. And so he says, all from beloved's side is sweet. Whatever he gives to you, there is no bitter, if you knew the secret how to taste. And what he says here is that everything from God is sweet. Even the suffering is sweet. Even the sorrow is sweet. Even the pain is sweet. Everything is sweet. There's no such thing as something bitter. But we just have to know how to taste it, how to take it in life. Whatever we're given actually is a gift. It may seem like it's conflict. It might seem like it's chaos. But whatever we're given is a gift if we know how to taste it. And thus is the poetry of Shah. So I am, again, very, very grateful that we've become aware of such great poets in Sindh. And I hope that we were able to look at them or into them a little bit more. Jai Jilala.
Thank you, Shabani ji. Very, very insightful. Thank you for sharing that wonderful poetry with us. Next, we have Beena Hochandani. Beena ji is a wife, mother of 2, and newly retired from a 40-year illustrious career as a software engineer from IBM. She has been affiliated with Chinmaya Mission New York Bal Bihar for 7 years and has been organizing the Cheti Chand event in her community since 2010. She will be singing us another Sindhi bhajan.
हरिओम सभिनी खे चेटी चंड जी लख लख बधाइयूं। पखियड़ा तू वन उडमी झूलेलाल दे, पखियड़ा तू वन उडमी झूलेलाल दे, सिक सद संदेश मुझे अमर लाल खे, सिक सद संदेश मुझे अमर लाल खे, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा। आज दिस आज याद कन था तोखे तुंहिंजा पुजारी, तोखे हथ जोड़े कन था निजारी, आसीसन खुश रहन हर हाल में, आसीसन खुश रहन हर हाल में, सिक सद संदेश मुझे अमर लाल खे, सिक सद संदेश मुझे झूलेलाल खे, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा। अच दिस त कीअं से सिक लाल ॻायूं, खणी डोक हथन में नचन ऐं ॻायूं, पंजड़ा ॻायूं पलव पायूं सुर ताल में, पंजड़ा ॻायूं पलव पायूं सुर ताल में, सिक सद संदेश मुझे अमर लाल खे, सिक सद संदेश मुझे अमर लाल खे, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा तू वन उडमी झूलेलाल दे, पखियड़ा तू वन उडमी झूलेलाल दे, सिक सद संदेश मुझे अमर लाल खे, सिक सद संदेश मुझे अमर लाल खे, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा, पखियड़ा हो पखियड़ा। जय झूलेलाल।
Thank you, Beena ji. Now we have a little fun Q&A interactive session with Balram Advani. Balram ji has been in the United States for 50 years. He is in the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry, spiritually evolved, an avid reader of the Bhagavad Gita, and is a certified yoga instructor at the Sadhu Vaswani Center in New Jersey, and has been volunteering there for over 20 years. So Balramji, thank you for joining us today. My first question for you is, can you tell us briefly about your childhood and family?
Thank you. Hari Om, Jai Jhulelal. First of all, I'd like to thank Chinmayanda Mission to host this event of Cheti Chand. Yes, when I was few years old, the partition happened. I do not have partition memories, but before partition, we were a family of 9 siblings. And I remember father used to saying all the time that we must get educated. He believed firmly that we may lose everything. We may lose material wealth, health, but education will always stay with us. So as a result, he educated all of us. My sisters became doctors, mathematicians, and I became a pharmacist. But during partition, we were smuggled by a cargo van into a ship from the port of Karachi, which sailed to Bombay. And then we finally settled in Bombay. There we had education. And then about in 1972, I migrated to United States and settled in New York. And I have two children, a daughter who's a doctor, ophthalmologist, my son, and she's settled with 3 children. And I have my wife, Deepa.
Thank you, Balramji, for that wonderful introduction. Next question for you is, what do you think is the strength of the Sindhi community?
I think Sindhis are very resourceful. Sindhis are survivors. Sindhis have integrated themselves into various parts of the globe and into India. And I think this all has come through the resilience, as Lakshmi Devi said it. And it came to us because of the adversity that we had suffered in Sindh. Sindhis are prosecuted community. In 712, 8th century, we have been invaded by the Islam, and many of our brothers have either died, perished, because they were forced to convert themselves in Islam and they refused, and some of them had to convert. So almost majority of the Sindhis became a convert, but a very few survived who came to and dispersed themselves into India and various parts of the globe. So that strength, I think, has changed our DNA, and we are very resourceful now. We have started businesses from the scratch. First, we were a rich, affluent community. We went through the trauma of the partition, and now we have become professionals, builders, doctors, and Sindhis are also very generous. Once they build up, they have built a lot of communities. We just heard that Dada has 70 different centers and he has colleges, hospitals, schools, and where we get a very carefully crafted education, and that builds our strength. Sindhis are also blessed community. We have a lot of saints who have been with us, and we are spiritually oriented, and of course, many of us are survivors and business minded. So we have also prospered in business.
Wonderful. And Balramji, the most, I think, important question, how should we continue this culture moving forward? Like Asake Chakra and Kape.
Well, it's a very important question. Most important thing is, here we are talking in English, but asange Sindhi mein ॻाल्हाइणु खपे. We should be talking in Sindhi, but we understand our children are not exposed to the language and we have to communicate with the world. So English is a communicating factor, Hindi is a communicating factor, but at least at home, we should speak in Sindhi. Remind us of these folk songs all the time. All the mothers should take that upon them. And now in this age of IT, my request to all the youth people is to build up a social network platform where we support each other, we help each other. Sindhis are very resourceful, and every Sindhi will like to contribute. I would like to contribute if there's a platform like this where we help Sindhis, not only help Sindhis, but help Hindus and help the humans. So that will be my humble request to all the Sindhis.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jai
Thank
Jai.
Jai Gurudev. Hari Om. Now, to all our registrars, whoever signed up, some of you sent me some lovely videos about what you love most about being Sindhi. I've compiled a short video and I'm just going to show that very quickly. Can everybody see my screen? Great.
What do I love about being Sindhi? The poetry of Shah Jo Rizalo, the Sufi Sindhi saint. Poor wounded ones, so restless grow, yet grateful are for pain. Forever forward wish to go, and here would not remain.
Hi, this is Binaha Chandani. I'm very proud to be a Sindhi because Sindhis are very proud, dignified people with a lot of self-respect, and we work very, very hard. Bye.
Being a Sindhi means that you are from an ancient yet modern community. We have the ability to adapt to a situation or to a country yet remain true to our roots. We may be part of a small group of people, but our reach is great. We are leading business owners, builders, thinkers, artists, and we make our mark wherever we go. We may not have our actual state in India, but the world is our stage. Jai
I'm
Jhulelal.
proud to be a Sindhi American. Sindhis have a long, rich, beautiful history going back to one of the most ancient civilizations, Mohenjo-daro. Sindhi people are hardworking, resilient, open-minded, and outgoing. After partition, many Sindhi families were displaced from our homeland and forced to flee, and they suffered massive tragedies. They forged ahead, they built up new lives for themselves in places all around the world and pursued opportunities and education where they could find them. Some of my favorite Sindhi dishes are Sindhi curry, sai bhaji, dal pakwan, and koki. Just want to wish everyone a happy Cheti Chand.
I love the history, the culture, the resilience, and the adaptability of the Sindhi community.
Sindhis are generally very jovial and enthusiastic in nature, so the way they celebrate their festivals, whether it be a religious or a social gatherings, those are very enthusiastic and with full of energy. So I like that part.
To me, being Sindhi is having an amazing network of family and friends across the world.
And for me, it's curry travel and tugs.
And for me, it's koki and sai bhaji.
The thing I love about being Sindhi is that Sindhis have such big, generous hearts. And wherever they live, they are always quick to respond to the needs of the community.
Sindhi.
Because Sindhis are very, very warm people.
Very good.
They love everyone, every community.
To me, being a Sindhi means having a global perspective, given that we're a community that is not geographically limited, and that truly makes us global citizens.
Yes, we are alive if our mother tongue is alive. So please make sure you keep our mother tongue alive and speak as much as you can in Sindhi to your family members, to your kids, and to everybody around you. Happy Cheti Chand to all of you. Thank you, Cheti Chand. You lakh lakh karor karor arbe arbe vadayon.
So I hope everybody enjoyed that video. I had a ball of a time putting it together. I learned so much about Sindhi culture, Sindhi heritage. So thank you to everybody who submitted and sent me videos. Now we're going to have another very special Sindhi bhajan by Gyan and Aditi Bhambani. Gyan is 17 years old and Aditi is 12. They have been singing at Sindhi religious events in the San Francisco Bay Area since they were kids. They both love music And some fun facts: Gyan loves his Sai Bhaji and Bukka, and Aditi loves her Sindhi curry and bundi, which, fun fact, she calls jalebi drops. They will be singing a medley of 3 of Jhulelal's Panjras, and I'm going to share my screen and show you that right now.
जय झूलेलाल हरिओम मुंहिंजो नालो अदिति भंपानी आहे ही मुंहिंजो भाउ ज्ञान भंपानी आहे
Hari Om, Jai Jhulelal. My name is Gyan Bhampani and this is my sister Aditi Bhampani. O Amar Dera Lal Sai Tunji Nit Nit Mehma Gaya. O Amar Dera Lal Sai Tunji Nit Nit Mehma Gaya. Jajutnavara, Jule, Jakevara, Jule, Jalal Sai, Jule, Satyavasu Jai, Jule, O Amar Dera Lal Sai, Tunji Nit Nit Mehma Gaya. Har pal tu aib dhakinde, munjo hat ki n chhadinde. सब सातु प्रीत निभाई झूलन झूतन सदाई सिद्ध कैसिक सातै जीवन में तुंजी जोत जगाया ओ सिद्ध कैसिक सातै जीवन में तुंजी जोत जगाया मुंजा जोतन वारा झूले मुंजा लाल साईं झूले मुंजा अखे वारा झूले सच्ची वास बुझाई झूले ओ अमर डेरा लाल साईं तुंजी नित नित महिमा गाया दम दमादम दमादम दम दमादम दम दमादम दमादम दम दमादम जीवे साईं जीवे साईं जीवे झूले मुर्शिद ओ मुर्शिद झूले मुर्शिद झूले झूले लालन ओ लालन झूले लालन झूले लाल कलंदर झूले तुंजो मुंजो मस्त कलंदर लाल कलंदर झूले दम दमादम दमादम दम दमादम झोली खाली आया संभाली तो दरता को न खाली झोली खाली आया संभाली तो दरता को की न खाली आए से तुंजे द्वार जीवे साया ओ साया जीवे साया जीवे झूले मुर्शिद ओ मुर्शिद झूले मुर्शिद झूले झूले लालन ओ लालन झूले लालन झूले लाल कलंदर झूले तुंजो मुंजो मस्त कलंदर लाल कलंदर झूले दम दमादम दमादम दम दमादम दम दमादम दमादम दम दमादम दम दमादम दमादम दम दमादम ओ मुझे झूले सब जो प्यारो झूलन जो रूप निरालो मस्ताए लाल मस्ता ओ मुझे झूलन सब जो प्यारो झूलन जो रूप निरालो मस्ताए लाल मस्ता झूलन जाकर जतारा खुशी सा भरल भंडारा दर्शन सा दिल भीतरे थे संगत में मौज मचे थी नील घोड़े वारोआ लाल दाढ़ी वारोआ पल्ले चिस वारोआ मस्ता लाल मस्ता ओ मुझे झूलन सब जो प्यारो झूलन जो रूप निरालो मस्ता लाल मस्ता ओ मुझे झूलन सब जो प्यारो झूलन जो रूप निरालो अरे केन मस्ता मस्ता लाल मस्ता मस्ता लाल मस्ता मस्ता लाल मस्ता चेटी चंड जीव लख लख करोड़ करोड़ वाधायूं Jai Jhulelal.
How beautiful was that? Hope everybody enjoyed it. Next, finally, we have Sarla Kushalani ji. Sarla ji is from Tarrytown, New York. She's been blessed to be influenced by many Sindhi and non-Sindhi saints, including Puja Gurudev. And I am going to be handing it over to her for Aarti and Akko.
Maybe.
Ayo lal cho jhule. Om Jai Dulha Deva, Swami Jai Dulha Deva. Puja Kanta Premi, Puja Kanta Premi, Siddh Kurakhi Seva. Om Jai Dulha Deva, Tunje Darate Kei, Sajana Chan Swali. दान वठन सब दिल सा कोन ॾिठुम खाली ओम जय दूल्हा देवा अंधरन खे ॾे अखरियूं दुखियन खे दानू स्वामी दुखियन खे दारू पाए मन जूं मुरादूं पाए मन जूं मुरादूं सेवक कन थारू ओम जय दूल्हा देवा पल फूल मेवा सब्जियूं पोखन मंझ पचन तुंहिंजी महर माया सां तुंहिंजी महर माया सां अनब अपार थियन ओम जय दूल्हा देवा जोत जगे थी जग में लाल तुंहिंजी लाली सजन लाल तुंहिंजी लाली अमर लाल अच मूं वटि अमर लाल अच मूं वटि विश्व संदा वाली ओम जय दूल्हा देवा जग जा जीव सभेई पाणीअ बिन प्यासा पाणीअ बिन प्यासा जेठानंद आनंद कर जेठानंद आनंद कर पूरन कयो आशा ओम जय दूल्हा देवा साईं जय दूल्हा देवा साईं जय दूल्हा देवा पूजा कन था प्रेमी पूजा कन था प्रेमी सिद्ध कुरखी सेवा ओम जय दूल्हा देवा अचो हाणे त पलव पायूं केकर खां मथो ढके सघो या कंहिंखे रुमाल हुजे या रओ हुजे त अॻियां भॻवान जे अॻियां रखो ऐं हिनखे प्रार्थना था कयूं पलव जे पाइन प्रेम सां खावंद खाली न करे भलो दरत तुंहिंजा सुबर भरिया भरिया ई आहिनि आसाऊं आहिनि लाल दर धूल तुंहिंजे दर ते हरे राम जेॾो तुंहिंजो नाम बाबा बाजब ओॾाई मङा रे थंबे रे थूणिया तूं छपर तूं छां गुजारो कहाँ तोखे मालूम सबकी साईं मुंहिंजा ओ मिठड़ा साईं दाता तूं छॾिजे मत जियां तुंहिंजे आसरे सभई पारूं सूरजूं हिक लहज़े में लटेज तूं मुहिरो की न मटेज जो मुल्क मिरियो ई घोरियो चओ हरे राम छो त तुंहिंजे गंज में आ कमी कान काई तुंहिंजो दर सखा जो सजण खुलियल आ सदाई करी शाह प्यादा दी प्यादनि खे शाही जेका तुंहिंजी मर्ज़ी थींदी नेठ साईं तुंहिंजो दर ते स्वाली वञनि की न खाली जेका जंहिंजी मर्ज़ी सजन तूं त सदाई पुॼाई लाल जा झाती चओ झूले लाल मुंहिंजा लाल साईं ओ मुंहिंजा ॿेड़ीअ वारा मिठड़ा सॼी संगत जो पलो सभु शेवाधारियुनि जो पलो माई भाईअ जो पलो जेके आया आहिनि उन्हनि जो पलो जेके न आया आहिनि उन्हनि जो बि पलो ओ मुंहिंजा लालण ओ मुंहिंजा ढोलण चिमनिया मिशनियूं याक वारनि जो पलो सतगुरुनि जो पलो उन्हनि जे आचार्यनि जो पलो उन्हनि खे वॾी आवर जा बख़्शजि जीअं त असांखे ऊंदे अंधकार मां कढी ज्ञान जी ज्योतिअ में वठंदा हलनि अमर धाम प्रेम धाम में वठंदा हलनि अजब तुंहिंजी वॾियाई साहिब तुंहिंजी साहिबी अजब ॾिठी मूं पन ॿोरी पातार में सॼण पाहण पातारी तूं जे राज़ी थी मूं त मेरा ईमान लहा लालण सिंध पातशाह लखे आया लखे जावन लखे खन खड़ा है स्वाली खावंद जिनके ॾिना अथई तिन खे बि बख़्शजैं जिनके न ॾिना अथई उन्हनि खे ॾेई सिक लाइ लालण लालण मां कयां मुंहिंजो लालण कहिड़ीअ कुंड मां त ॿारहां थी लकड़ियूं मुंहिंजो लालण ॿारे बुंड अरे मुंह में कहिड़ी हुंड जो लिकी वेठे तूं लाट में तूं त लाल ई लाल रतो रही सदा रंग में जेॾा करी ख्याल उन्हनि खे रंगी पंहिंजे रंग में ओ ज्योतिन वारा ओ मुंहिंजा लाल साईं तन मन धन अरदास करे मंगल तुम्हारो स्नेही राम नाम तुम्हारा साबुन कैसा धोआ पाप सभी राम करे सतगुरु लोक टिनी में आवागमन मिठाई लाल आवागमन मिठाई राम सब जी आस पुजाई लालो सब जी आस पुजाई लाल लाल जा जाती चौ झूले लाल लाल झूले लाल झूले लाल झूले लाल लाल झूले लाल झूले लाल झूले लाल हो लाल झूले लाल झूले लाल झूले लाल लाल झूले लाल झूले लाल झूले लाल आयो लाल झूले लाल आयो लाल झूले लाल सभई चो झूले लाल प्रेम सां चो झूले लाल झूले 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 लाल आयो लाल झूले 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 लाल आयो लाल असीं माणा ऐ बनहाणा ऐ बनहाणा असीं माणा ऐ बनहाणा ऐ बनहाणा दूल्हा तुंहिंजे दर ते विकाणा दर ते विकाणा ओ भलो नाहिल कल तो सहार नाहिल कल तो सहार ओ झूलेलाल झूलेलाल जो तू दया ओ झूलेलाल झूले 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 झूलेलाल आयो लाल झूले 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 झूलेलाल आयो लाल चो झूले बाग बहार सभिनी जा बेड़ा पार आनंद में रहो बाबा जित विहारी तू वज़ल नूरी निहारी तू शुक्र आहे शुक्र तुंहिंजो शुक्र आहे शुक्र तुंहिंजो शुक्र आहे शुक्र तुंहिंजो लाल जा छाती चो झूलेलाल
Jai Jhulelal. This comes to the conclusion of our program. We want to express our gratitude to all of the people who have prepared for this program, everyone who has sung, who has emceed, who has spoken, who has come. We really, really appreciate it. We owe our gratitude to you. And we also hope to learn more about other cultures and other places. The greatest glory of Bharat is we are one. We have many languages. We have many different types of food. We are in many different places, but we are one. So I hope that this will only be a start, and this will give us an opportunity to also explore other regions, other languages, and other festivities in our great land of Bharat. With this, we'll say the closing prayer. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om, everyone. And may I just request the organizers to stay back. Hari Om.